Okay, I want you to know I am working. I'm just about, so.
And with that, Ron, we're going to have Ron introduce our speaker today, as Ron has a wonderful relationship with Rick and is a very big part of this program.
I don't know, Rick, do we have a wonderful relationship? I gotta check that out from time to time. But, yeah, Rick is here representing Safe Parking and Mountain View Community Development. And,
allowing people to live in their cars.
oh, what did I do?
It's touched it.
Oh, I shouldn't have touched it. There we go. So much for our relationship, Rick. In any event, Rick is also, I'm on the board of Mountain View Community Development. Rick is our executive and Safe Parking at this point. Rick has been my pastor too for the last 2 years that I've been in the area and moved here. And currently our co-pastor along with Emily. And Rick has 2 children and a wife. That's important information, I think. And again, came here, what, about 8 years ago, Rick?
Yeah, 10.
10, okay, all right. 10 years ago, and from Madras, and was doing both churches in Madras and here for a while, and now we got them all to ourselves. So he's going to tell you a lot more information about the program. But Safe Parking had about 96 folks last year, and we moved about 18, was it 12? 18 to permanent housing, another 12 to a better position, if you will. 50 people are still there that were there last year, and we've got about 14 people that decided to move out of the program, or perhaps were asked to move out of the program. We can talk about that as well, but so successful that, I'm sure Rick will mention this, the county commissioners provided us last week with another $200,000 so that we can bridge a funding issue that we have for the balance of the year. And that was hard sledding, but Rick and Colton and Captain Wells from the police department here in town did a marvelous job in presenting our case. So with that said, Rick will introduce Colton and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I met Ron here in this room 2 years ago. He was, I think it was his first or second Kiwanis meeting.
Yeah, it was.
And I happened to be presenting. And I think the next Sunday he was in our church foyer, and now he's on our board, and I'm really grateful for that. So
Thank you.
thank you. I'm going to allow Colton to introduce himself in just a moment. I want to tell you a little bit about the program. We work with folks who are unhoused, living out of cars or RVs, and we find a safe, legal place for them to be, surround them with some basic safety and sanitation, and then with case management support to help move them on to a more stable housing situation. I'm going to show a 2-minute clip from a KTVZ story back in January. I know the audio is really hard to hear, and so we'll give it our best, and I hope you can hear this. There are a couple of good stories in here.
Redmond's safe parking program, allowing people to live in their cars in specified areas, has seen some positive results. Lola Bagabo looks at what the results mean for the future.
Amber, can you hear this?
So the next step for me is actually hopefully finding a place to actually live in, house, apartment, but definitely the RV life is not a permanent life.
I'm anticipating that by this time next year.
A lot of people don't know the mayor lives out of his car. He's a part of our program now.
Particularly Northeast Redmond. And, we do have conflict with neighborhoods and homeless people living on the street.
One effort to alleviate the homeless crisis is the Safe Parking Program, which launched in Redmond roughly 2 years ago.
Those that are in the safe parking, we are trying to move forward. No drugs, no alcohol, and try and look for something else, not just to be out there, to party.
Mountain View Fellowship manages 6 safe parking sites totaling 28 spaces for regulated overnight parking for people experiencing homelessness. Case managers meet with occupants weekly to help them reach their goals.
My caseworker Stephanie actually helped me and encouraged me to find a job again within reason, you know. And I ended up going back to basics.
We've seen probably 30 people move on to positive locations in the last year, 18 of those to permanent housing.
A 7th site will open at the Community Presbyterian Church within a week. Other Redmond locations include a couple lots off Highway 97 near Smile a Mile Painting, Mountain View Fellowship, Redmond Athletic Club, Veterans Hall of Foreign Affairs Hall, and county-owned property on the east side of Redmond.
We have, on any given night, between 40 and 60 people staying a part of the program.
RVs and campers that are not part of the safe parking program cannot camp within 500 feet of a safe parking site.
So a little snapshot there. You said, I saw that video, Kevin, the guy with the black curly hair. Kevin, I just saw Kevin 2 days ago. He showed up for his case management appointment. And he's now gotten his second full month's paycheck. He's working at BaseX, and his wife is working at Dairy Queen, I think. And he just got his second promotion. He's making $29 an hour now.
Wow.
And they're still in their RV, but they're not on any subsidized housing list. They can pay market rate. They're making enough money, but they just need to build up enough savings, get those paychecks rolling in. And so I would expect within the next 60 days, he and his wife and her sister are going to be in their own 2-bedroom apartment, and they're just doing phenomenally well. And you could hear kind of what he needed there was he just needed some encouragement. He just needed someone to kind of raise his vision. And we experience this a lot with our folks, particularly in RVs. There's kind of a hopelessness that has set in and a vision that has been lost of what their life could be. And so sometimes we'll ask people living in an RV, hey, what's your goal? What would you like to see happen for yourself? And they'll tell us something like, well, my refrigerator's not working right in my RV, and I'd like to get that fixed up, and it's hot, and my air conditioner's not working in the summer, or maybe I could get a little nicer RV, and we kind of have to say, those are good things, and maybe we can help you out a little bit. But what would it look like for you to live in an apartment? What would it look like for you to live in a house? What would it look like for you to have roommates maybe to be able to afford that? And it just is not often, just not within their vision of what they could do. And so those case managers really are about kind of lifting people's vision for what's possible and giving them some encouragement to kind of step back out there and gain more full employment and access those subsidized housing lists when that's appropriate. And so I'm going to, just a couple basics about the program. We have 7 locations around the community out. Very grateful to Community Presbyterian. I know John was instrumental in kind of helping open that door. And I was just there yesterday with Ola, who did the report from KTVZ. And Colt was there, and we did a little thing that's supposed to air on Friday in the parking lot. And really grateful for that site. I know we've got a family there and an older single woman as well. 7 locations around town, 29 parking spaces, and that means every night there are right about 50 people staying in the safe parking program. At my church site, Mountain View Fellowship on 35th at Obsidian, it's a family site, so we only place families with children there. And we, right now, I think we have 16 children who are there, a part of that. And it's a real pinch point because they're just in a gravel parking lot in the back of the church. And, I need something for those kids to do. So I'll throw this out there. I need a playground. And right now we're working with the city of Redmond to maybe buy some of their old playground equipment that's getting pulled out of a park. And I need like $20,000 in order to put it in the ground and make it safe and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know where that's going to come from, but I got to find something for those kids to do in the parking lot. We provide porta potties, garbage service. We don't have like armed security guards. These places are just so quietly operating. We use some security cameras. We have a facilities person there nearly every day, if not a case manager. And our participants like the safety. And so if something funky is going on one of our sites, a car that doesn't belong there, something like that, our participants are the first ones to text us and say, hey, there's someone out there I don't know. What should we do? And because they like the sites to be safe as well. these are kind of some of the ways we help people. I want to introduce Colton and allow him to tell a little bit of his story. Colton came to us a year and a half ago, more than a year.
It was.
You were early in the program.
It was 18 months to 20 months ago.
Yeah. So
like
tell us a little bit about your story, where you were at before, how you came in.
Well, it started with me and my wife lost our apartment. I was having trouble getting back and forth to work. I was in active addiction, and we lost our apartment. I got a fifth wheel that I was making payments on, and I was out on 17th. And my probation officer at the time told me about safe parking, got me the application to fill out. We filled it out and got accepted to the church at that time.
Yeah, you're at the church location.
Yeah, because we were working on getting our kids back. And I mean, it just gave me enough time to be able to work on myself, I guess. Because out on 17th, I was constantly worried about people stealing my generators, my propane tanks, the few things that made it possible for me to live out of a fifth wheel.
Can I ask a question? How many of you have been out to 17th Street, Northeast Redmond, the last year and a half? So you know kind of what or do you remember driving by Hunnell Road in Bend?
Right.
That's the kind of image we're talking about.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was constantly, I mean, multiple nights I woke up to people jingling the chains on my thing, trying to steal it. Chains cut a couple times, trying to get my generator and stuff, and I filled the application out and we moved to the church, and it gave me enough time to be able to work on my mental health with Deschutes County Behavioral Health, and then ultimately get into a detox facility in the valley, and I've been sober for 15 months now.
So what you heard there in Colton's story was where did he go afterward? We use the term positive destinations. Last year we had 30 people move on to a positive destination. 18 of those were into permanent housing. But 12 of those were to something that was not permanent. So it could have been a transitional housing. Sometimes it was folks who were living in a car, which is very hard. I got a family church right now, 4 kids in a car. We had a mom with 3 kids in a 2-door Honda Accord. It's a hard life. For them, sometimes it's getting them to a larger shelter situation such as Bethlehem Inn. Sometimes it's a family property that doesn't count as permanent housing. In your case, it was detox.
Detox, and then from there to a halfway house, I guess you'd call it, sober living. It was Pfeiffer and Associates, which is a great program. Gave me the stability in my life that I needed, and rules, because I was not good at following rules at all at that point in time. So that was a very positive point in my life. And then one of my dad's neighbors passed away, and I was helping clean that trailer out for his daughter that lives across the country. And one of the ladies came down, and she was moving out of the state and was getting rid of her single-wide mobile home and signed the deed over to me. So I'm in permanent housing now. So that's a huge plus.
So Colton is, and Desiree is doing great.
Desiree's doing great. I almost got my kids all the way back.
Yeah.
So huge things have happened the last 2 years.
So sobriety, stability, housing. Let's talk about employment. You went and did some training.
Yeah,
Tell people about that training.
I went to COCC and did the peer support specialist training because through Deschutes County Behavioral Health and Pfeiffer, I met a couple people that are called peer support specialists, and they were just great people that helped plug me into different resources and really lifted me up and believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. So I went and did that training.
And what is a peer support specialist for people who don't know?
There's somebody that has lived experience, depending on if it's mental health, drugs and alcohol, or a couple other things that have made it out the other side. You know, that they're not still stuck in it and can show other people that are in that position how they did it, and then help plug them into resources that could help them do it.
Yeah. 2 months ago or so, something like that, we actually posted a position with our team. We have a team of 8 people now, a case management team of 3, and we see a lot of value to that peer support specialist role. Somebody who's been there, been through it, come out the other side. there's nobody better than someone who's been there to go and talk to our participants and say, hey, there's hope here. So we posted a job on Indeed for a peer support specialist. We were looking for someone who had the training. That helps us because we can bill for Medicaid if they have the training. And we're like, it's a long shot that we're going to find someone who has this training. And then all of a sudden, a resume shows up in our email inbox. And at the top of the resume, it says Colton Hill. And we went, what? Is that the same Colton Hill that can't be. And so we called Colton in for an interview a month ago. And it was the same Colton Hill, but it was not the same Colton Hill. It was a different Colton Hill. And I don't even know that you knew this, we weren't really sure if we were going to hire for the position. We thought, let's just kind of cast it out there. And after we did the interview, we were like, no, we need to hire Colton. He needs to come and to be a voice to our other participants for what's possible in their lives. And so Colton is no longer, he's not a participant in the program, he's an employee of Mountain View Community Development today. And that's really cool. Hang on, because you might get some questions. So here are locations around town. The green are active locations. The yellow are some sites we're working on. Neighbor Impact has got some construction they need to get done. We've been talking with the Fairgrounds for a long time. Another one in the industrial area that I think I can share this. We've been talking with the community college about doing something for with priority for people who are COCC students or alumni there, and some things to work through there. But these are the places that we're operating these safe parking sites. There's that kind of summary of what we've done. I do want to emphasize this family thing. So every night we're providing shelter essentially for about 50 people in the community. That makes us the largest provider of shelter in Redmond. We love our partners at Shepherd's House. We work very closely with them. Every night they house about 45 people. We love our partners at Oasis Village. Every night they house about 15 people. And so safe parking has become an integral part of what shelter options look like in the community. And particularly for families, because if you have kids, do you really want to take your kids into a congregate shelter setting where you might have bunk beds with multiple strangers in the same room? If you're a single woman, do you want to go into that kind of setting? And so we see a lot of people who have kids who prefer being in their own RV space versus in a congregate setting. Let me give you a little snapshot of what are the types of folks who are in our program. And I'm going to kind of draw a line between those who are over the age of, let's say, 50 or 55, and those under the age of 55. Those who are under the age of 50 or 55, typically, like Colton, it can be a matter of gaining some stability, getting back out into the workforce, getting into maybe subsidized housing, maybe market rate housing, and going towards self-sufficiency. That's what you've done. We've seen other people do that as well. The folks who are over the age of 55 and often into retirement years and often have a disability as well are not going back into the workforce. It's just not going to happen. And so what happens? They sign up for housing lists. We work with our partners Thrive. We work with Housing Works and Epic Property Management. We help them get signed up to be on the list for that housing. But you can see, in the case of John, he's 1,000 plus on one of the lists. He's 40 on one of the lists, which probably still means a 3-year wait. I don't want to be blunt, but frankly, there will be people who will die unhoused, waiting on lists. And that's just the reality in our community. And it's particularly those who are living off of Social Security or disability, living on $900 to $1,200 a month. And we have a lot of those folks in Redmond. And so this kind of brings me to a step beyond safe parking, kind of a next project that we're working on. We would like to find some place for that population especially to go, some place that's permanent for them to live. And the best model that we've seen of this, we've looked around the state and around the region, around the Northwest, the best model we've seen of this is actually out of Austin, Texas. And so this is a snapshot of a place called Community First Village in Austin, which started as an RV park, but then they began to convert each one of those RV spaces into a permanent housing unit by using manufactured units. And so you could call it a manufactured home park. That's essentially what it is. But aimed for this population, 0 to 30% of area median income, and providing the social supports and the care supports to keep people stably housed. To that end, we've been working with the city, we've been working with the county on how could we do that here and where could we do that here. So some of you are familiar with Oasis Village out on Highway 126 toward Prineville. And Oasis Village is there, and there are 15 micro-shelter units. This is possibly just to the north of that on county-owned property. And so we've been working with them on trying to identify funding where we could do this. We think it's a $13 million project, which for 60 units, which breaks out to be about $200,000 per housing unit for permanent housing for folks who fall in that category. It's a dream, but I would call it more than a dream. There's traction to this. We were at the legislature last year. We didn't get any funding there, but all of our regional legislative delegates signed a letter of support, sought funding for that. We'll be back at the legislature again in 25, working with Senator Merkley's office on an earmark. They have a fancier name for them now. But working toward this project on finding partners for this, and actively talking with Housing Works and some conversations with Hayden Homes as well, and bringing partners together. Yeah?
Just quickly, your target group for that is the older people that are on disability or Social Security, or that's the primary target group for that?
It is the primary target group. I don't think we would limit it to only 55 and up, because we do have some people in younger ages who may have disabilities and need to have access to something like this.
Yeah.
But we want to find, for all those younger people who can gain employment, stability, and self-sufficiency, we want to get them back out into the community on their own feet, but create something for that crowd who will wait on housing lists for the rest of their life.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Has anybody taken the time to add up all the money that's tax money that's spent cleaning ODOTs, cleaned I don't know how many areas around the highway? You could probably build that on the tax money that we're wasting on moving these people around and let them park someplace where they can be legal.
Or the cost of emergency departments providing response health care for chronic conditions, or law enforcement time with police officers spent their time being social workers when that's not really what they're trying to do. Here's my saying: the cost of doing nothing is more than the cost of doing nothing is more than the cost of doing something. And we hide those costs in other institutions. I actually think that was it. So if you have questions, I'd love to hear it for Colton or myself. Yeah.
What's it going to take to get the county? And they only doing 6 spots out here at this RV park that there's nobody in it most of the time, and you could vacate when they're busy and come back when they're not.
Oh, the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why they're not doing
I don't
anything.
disagree with you at all. I'm going to take you to my next fair board meeting with you.
I'll come.
Devil's advocate,
Yeah.
if you're trying to get people to stay there, I don't think staying next to people that are living there full time is going to be good business-wise for an RV park. Just saying. I bet that's their argument.
Well, I live next to an RV park, and it's the manager of the park. It makes a difference on whether it's successful or not.
Yeah.
I was worried about the one I live next to, and the manager made it a positive place to be.
When it comes to places like COCC, when it comes to places like the Community Presbyterian Church, some of our locations are more sensitive than others, and we're going to be very careful about who we place there. Not only just the type of clients and where they're at in their life, but simply the appearance of their RV is significant. And if we end up doing a partnership with COCC, we're going to be very conscious that there's a lot of traffic driving right by the airport, that there are college students there. It needs to not stand out in a negative way. And it would surprise you. It surprised me. We have images of people who live in RVs and we consider them homeless, and it's, tarps flapping and trash outside and old broken down things or windows broken out. There are people in our program who have very, very nice RVs, and you would not know that they're living out of that permanently. And so It's a concern. The visuals of homelessness are a concern.
Well, and they have really tight rules on how old the RVs can be over there. And if you start looking at some of those things, they'd have to change the rules a whole lot to even be allowable.
Yeah, it's a significant, a lot of our people in RVs are saying, well, I'd like to just get into an RV park. But many of the other RV parks have a rule saying, no, RV's not older than 10 years old, things like that, for that reason. Yeah.
How are you working with other houseless outfits like Oasis Village? I mean, you're kind of one step in a variety of different steps.
Yep.
And it's critical because sometimes that's the first place, and then it's like maybe an Oasis Village, or maybe that's how it's been introduced to me, which is first get them out of the junipers, wildfire danger, huge cost there, into safety. Colton, it's a great story. Because that's the thing, we have heard from various different organizations. How are you working together?
Yeah, I would say quite well and a lot. This morning I was on a meeting that was hosted by COIC. Most of the groups are there. Yesterday was a Redmond Service Providers meeting where Gwen from Bethlehem Inn and Bob Bohack from Oasis Village. I would not only call them colleagues, I'd call them friends, and we work quite well. We will share folks back and forth if it feels like a step of progression. Mm-hmm. But you're right, think of housing as a ladder. And you don't go from in the junipers or in the dirt to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a 30-year mortgage. There are steps in between. And the initial steps are often places like safe parking or Oasis Village. Bethlehem Inn is transitioning their Highbury shelter into this kind of longer-term transitional thing, so it's kind of another rung up the ladder. Then you've got Housing Works and subsidized housing, HUD Section 8 vouchers. But that's a higher rung, and we think that there's a rung missing there that this kind of fits. But I would say that the service providers in the region are in a lot of communication, a lot of collaboration, and it's a pretty healthy thing.
So I think that's pretty important long term to see something like that come about, as you're going to have to get everybody really buying in to make something like that. So thanks, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that our time?
About one more minute. Does anybody have one last question?
Talk about your. I'm sorry.
One question per customer, Alan. Please go ahead.
I just want to talk about the person who comes and does the case management.
Yeah.
That to me is a real important person.
Yes. There are 3 of them, and they are trained and with multiple levels of training, and that is the primary expense. 80% of our budget is personnel, and it's primarily case management personnel. That's the secret sauce to this. I would not suggest to another community that they start a safe parking program without strong case management. And I have seen that happen in a few communities. By the way, the city of Tigard just started their own safe parking program, and it's based off the program out of Redmond. And that was a cool compliment to what's happening here, I think, too. Can I do one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is for Colton.
Yes.
How many peer support meetings that you've been doing this about a month? How's it going?
I've met 4 clients already, and it's going really good. When I explained to them that I was in the program and that I have a history with the law, a lot of them are like, hey. And then the meeting that's supposed to be like 30 minutes goes into like an hour plus of us talking and explaining my way through it and giving them hope,
Yeah, congratulations.
Colton's first day was last week, and a lot of that was training videos, so he's just getting out there.
We have a small token of appreciation for you both being here today. It's a Kiwanis pen by a local artisan here in town.
Thank you.
And Rick, thank you for this important work you are taking on. It's a battle, and you're doing it so gracefully. And to Colton, we are so honored for you to tell your story here with us today, and just to be here. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Have a picture?
Okay, one last.
Okay.
I'll do this for Barb. She's not here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, in honor of our guest, my piece of bread only belongs to me when I know that everyone else has a share and that no one starves while I eat. And with that.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.